Good morning, fellow Malaysians. This is Matthias Chang once again from Future Fast Forward. I have very sad news to disclose to you, all of you, fellow Malaysians. Before doing that, may I just say that yesterday I appeared in the High Court of Malaysia, Court Jenayah 1, and I was glad to know that the Attorney General Chambers withdrew the appeal of my acquittal and that of my former client, Datuk Khairuddin Abu Hassan, against our acquittal of the false and heinous charge of Section 124L of the Penal Code that we attempted to sabotage the financial services of Malaysia. This is a landmark victory for justice and for truth. And first of all, I will thank Allah for guiding me all these years to be steadfast, surrender to Him unconditionally, and the absolute faith that He will protect us, defend us, and guide us under all circumstances in the face of all challenges, adversities, enemies. So my prayers have been answered. Justice has won. Truth has won. As I've said so often in all my previous videos, ultimately, no matter how long it takes, justice will prevail, truth will prevail. And yesterday's case was a reflection that justice will always prevail, truth will always prevail. And secondly, I want to thank Tommy Thomas, the President Attorney General, for doing his duty and responsibility in upholding justice. Now I'll move on to the crucial issue that I want to share with you. There were many issues since my last address to all of you. But what pains me very much is the way our Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, has gone about making statements both at home and abroad, as if he was not sure the advice that was given to him, if at all there was any advice, or the facts before him. Because, sad to say, he has made several inconsistent and contradictory statements regarding, specifically, those contracts between China and Malaysia. I would have thought, when we're taking on China, I think the whole world, that those contracts were lopsided, in fact criminal, etc. And that we would have saved our country from the abyss of bankruptcy because of huge amount of debts incurred as a result of those contracts. One would have thought that the Prime Minister would gather a multidisciplinary team to come together, to debate, to analyze, and get a few people as devil's advocate to see our strength and our weaknesses. Quite often, in fact many times, legal cases has political consequences and implications, and likewise, legal case, a political case or situations have far-reaching legal consequences. So we cannot take a myopic approach and consider every issue before the country, every crisis purely either economic and political, and exclude legal aspects. Vice versa, likewise, we cannot approach legal issues purely from a legal angle and forget or downplay the political, economic, financial consequences. In most cases, they all merge and come together. Therefore, we need to have a broad approach, and more importantly, to have people willing to tell truth to power, be the devil's advocate, and punch and see how strong is our case and how weak is our case. Sun Tzu said, know your enemy and you know yourself, you cannot lose. Victory is assured. Know your enemy as well as knowing yourself. Meaning, with a study both sides. Lawyers do that every day in court. If you act for the plaintiff, not only must you know the plaintiff's case, but as well as the defendant's case. And vice versa, if we act for the defendant, we must also know the strength and weakness of the plaintiff and anticipate the arguments that be thrown at you, or for that matter, by the court, to test how prepared you are in appearing before them. No stones left unturned. We zigzag, we plow on, discipline, hard work, if it be 24/7. So what am I referring to? Now this is all in the public domain, right? You can either Google it, right? Now, if you know, before the elections, the opposition parties, now the present government, said that there were a lot of hanky-panky, illegality, criminal acts in regards to contracts made between GLCs or companies under the auspices of the Ministry of Finance and the Chinese companies. A lot of hanky-panky. Alright? To the extent that upon taking power as a new government, the Pakatan Harapan government, Prime Minister declared this contract will be cancelled. That contract will be cancelled. The word is cancelled, and the word was repeated often enough. When you say a contract is cancelled, for whatever reasons, you are telling the whole world, both from the point of law, from the point of politics, economics, alright, that that contract has been repudiated by none other than the head of government. So when someone say, in the status of the Prime Minister, this contract is cancelled for whatever reason, it is a public declaration of repudiation of a contract. Let's pause here, right? And what we have thought, that before the Prime Minister utter such a statement, he will obtain advice from all quarters, like I said, law, politics, economics, on the consequences within Malaysia and the consequences with other countries involved in this contract. Because we are bound by both the domestic law as well as international law. And the doctrine of the international community applies because it affects our integrity and our foreign relations. So you recall, to cancel the contract, use the word cancel, with regard to ECRL, the train, East Coast train, the high-speed train, and some gas pipelines. Okay? Alright. And then a few weeks later, alright, to paraphrase the finance minister, Lim Guan Eng, what if China and the parties were able or willing to reduce the cost of those projects, we may well consider it to implement it or defer it until we can afford it. Alright? So from the start, once you cancel, you cancel. You have repudiated the contract. You can't then renegotiate again. You can't have the cake and eat it. Never mind. Subsequently, alright, before the Prime Minister and his entourage went to China, they said, well, we'll renegotiate the terms with China. And will it be relaunch it, right, with either a new contract, whatever, okay? And then, to quote, right, one of the reasons why Tun Mahathir saying that, right, even we have to cancel it despite compensation that have to be paid to China. This is what he says, and I quote, if we have to pay compensation, we have to pay. This is a stupidity of the negotiations before. Must find a way to exit these projects. This is our own people's stupidity. And he then diplomatically said that, well, China's not really at fault. The blame must be solely on Najib and his advisors. That echoes almost what Trump said, when he entered into negotiations on trade with China. He said, not only was trade with China, but in North and South America under NAFTA, TPP, were stupid, idiotic agreements entered by his predecessor and more recently by Obama and Hillary. But he didn't blame Canada, South America, Europe, or China. They are stupid, his predecessors. Okay. So likewise, Tun seems to be echoing that stance. But there's one difference. In all those contracts, NAFTA, TPP, and what have you, between America and other countries, they have been going on for years. There was no hanky-panky. There was no illegality or criminality. Only that there were several provisions that were sorely disadvantageous to America. Hence, his rally call during this campaign, "Make America Great Again." No more stupid agreements. No more disadvantageous agreements against USA. There must be free and fair trade. And likewise, Tun Mahathir reasserted to China, we are for free but fair trade. It's lopsided, blah, blah, blah. But interesting, what was stated was right. What he has to cancel was illegality. Illegality and criminality. He said that the contract price was inflated. And the inflated amount was diverted to enable companies to buy the 1MDB assets. To enable Chinese companies on the main contract to use subsidiaries to buy the energy assets from 1MDB, thereby lessening the debt load or burden of 1MDB. Now, surely, in those scenarios, the key personnel of those contracts between Malaysian companies, being companies under the control of the Ministry of Finance, and the Chinese GLCs, Government Sponsored Enterprise or GSE, they must know. It cannot be said that the Chinese personnel or executives were totally unaware of the lopsidedness of the contract in their favor, in China's favor. If they say their cost, for example, max is 29 billion, and the contract price is 60 billion, whether by the main contract or subsidiary contract or handshake, China is aware, isn't it? The price was inflated. Therefore, the purpose and the object of the contract is not as it is, or as apparent as a contract. They were hanky-panky. Money was laundered in a very sophisticated way. Now, being GSE, government-sponsored enterprise, is arguable to what level the government of China knows about it. It has to know something about it because it's GSE, like our GLC, all right? They're all controlled by the Communist Party. Of course, the ultimate responsibility rests with the President Xi Jinping. But, like our Ministry of Finance, they have also Ministry of Finance. They give loans to Malaysia to finance those contracts. And these are not simple loans. These are billion-dollar loans, US billion-dollar loans. So someone very high up in the government is involved in this negotiation, knows the intricacy, what is finance, and how money will be paid. Okay? We were told that a loan will be dispersed in China to the Chinese companies without having to traverse to Malaysian banks. They're in control. Why would China insist that the contract price will be paid to China companies directly via their loan? You follow me? Because they don't trust our GLCs. That if they draw down the loan, they may not pay the Chinese companies. They put it in a pocket, you know, and load it in. So such a condition is not strange, as what Tun says. It's actually very good, very apt and appropriate to protect that the loan will be dispersed properly and to the correct party. And by analogy, right, if people don't understand why banks do this way in dispersing a loan, let's take an example. You, my dear fellow Malaysians, borrow money to buy a house. And the house costs 1 million ringgit. The bank is going to finance 70%, 700,000. And you have to come up with the difference, 300,000. And 300,000 is paid direct to who? To the seller or the developer. Most often it's the developer, okay? And you get a loan, 7,000 for the bank. The bank never paid directly to the purchaser. And then for the purchaser to pay the developer or the seller. Once the bank knows that the differential sum, the 300,000 or the 1 million, has been paid by the buyer, since it's only financed 70%, the bank then, through solicitors, pay directly to the seller or the developer the balance of the purchase price. Can you see the analogy? To avoid the seller saying that he's not been paid. So if the developer, the banks and financer pay to the developer in stages, alright, the bank is assured that the money is not diverted. The purpose of the loan is carried out to purchase a property, not enable the buyer, after he receives a loan sum, go to getting and gamble. Can you see? Because the banks that finance the loan and financing don't trust the purchaser. To make sure that the money is dispersed properly, go direct to the developer. In our case, the Chinese bank says, right, since the Chinese company doing the work and must be paid, they will ensure it's paid properly. But of course, the contract was worded in such a way as opposed to based on performance, it was based on time, regards to performance. That is all. But the method of disbursement is not all. Having said that, alright, there are so many cases, so many authorities, right? For example, here is a Star Online, okay, articles as to what was said, okay, by Tun Mahathir, okay. Then there's one by the Age Markets, alright, and on the pipeline, cancel pipeline, okay, Bernama, on August 21st, okay. And then there is also Age Property by Mahathir. In summary, okay, alright, he's saying there's hanky-panky, there's criminality, diversion. Okay, can I read to you? This is by an article by P. Gunasegaram of Malaysian Kini, and he quoted Tun Mahathir in an interview. Can I read the following part? Of the East Coast Rail Link project, estimated to cost 55 billion, Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad told the Edge in an interview last month the loan for Malaysia to build the ECRL is kept abroad, and it has led to suspicions that some of the money was used to repay 1MDB debts and buy certain companies. The Edge further reported, quoting sources, that the cost of ECRL project was inflated by about 20 billion in part to buy assets from 1MDB. Okay? The controversial ECRL has been awarded to China's state-owned company, China Communications Construction Company Limited, CCCC. And out of the construction cost of 55 billion ringgit, 85% or nearly 47 billion was to be financed by China. Payment is to be made direct to CCCC without the money coming into Malaysia according to a time schedule which does not reflect payment on a percentage of completion basis. Apparently, 20 billion has already been drawn down from the loan, but there's no clarity on where the money has gone. Alright? On top of that, this Lim Guan Eng, revealed a new shocker. 2 pipelines involving a total of RM 9.4 billion to be undertaken by Surya Strategic Energy Resources, SSER, a wholly owned subsidiary of the French company set up specifically for the project on May 19, 2016. They were the multi-product pipeline MPP in Malacca worth 5.35 billion and the Trans-Sabah Gas Pipeline TSGP worth RM 4.06 billion. Work for both began in April last year. Lim revealed that almost 8.25 billion, comprising nearly 88% of the project, has been paid despite only 30% of both projects were completed. On top of that, consultancy fees of nearly 1 billion were paid to 2 Chinese companies. Okay. So now, based on all these statements, right, Tun said we're going to cancel the project. Now this is very strange. That was repeated when he was in China on August 21st. It was quoted. Tun Mahathir says China finance contract projects cancelled. 3 days later, 20th August, when he came back to Malaysia, no cancellation of Chinese projects yet, say PM. Flip-flop. Flip-flop. Okay. Say one thing one day and say another thing another day. Not just once, but many times. And I recall that one of the criticisms of the PM against Trump was that Trump is unreliable as a leader. He changes his mind in his Twitter or what have you. One day say this, one day say that. So it's very sad for me to observe a man I've served for a long time. He is in fact doing what he accused other people of doing. And that surprises me because on such a major issue, surely you can't flip-flop. Cancel, on again, off again. Now, he moaned and groaned. We have to pay huge amount of compensation to China if we cancel the contract. Therefore, we must find ways, if possible, to salvage the contract. Okay. And other so-called analysis, economics experts say, well, despite illegality, since we have paid so much compensation and then get nothing, we must not do it. Despite the criminality. As if 2 wrongs make 1 right. And yet in all this discussion, since May, when Pakatan Harapan came to power, with all the resources that are power and access to documents, no one bothered at all to say, alright? I'm not blaming anyone. No one bothered to say, hey, if these contracts are in fact illegal, unlawful, what is the effect? And no one seems to bother, especially those lawyers who pride themselves being advisor to the government, or to Mahathir, or those lawyers who are now in government, in the cabinet. Are they so detached they only think of their own little kingdom and totally ignore this huge elephant in the room? When the issue is staring in their face. So may I suggest to Tun Mahathir, remember in those days when you had no power, when you had a lot of problems and crises, before we solved anything, you remember you had a team. of advisors. If it's essentially law, not just one lawyer, but a team of lawyers to advise you. Some may be the same, or there's consensus, sometimes there was no consensus, but you had the benefit of a team. And therefore, I'd like to inquire from you, sir, as a citizen, who feel very sad of your desperation, your humiliation, your want of a solution. Did you assemble a team? If not, why not? If yes, what were they advised? Were they conflicting? Was there consensus? So, let me assure you, sir, that the contract is illegal. You can cancel it. You don't have to pay any compensation. Regardless whether the contract is based on Malaysian law or Chinese law, because there is unlawfulness, illegality. Okay, that's important. This is found in the Contracts Act. Okay. Even if the law of the contract is Chinese law, once crime is committed, unlawfulness, criminality, even those contracts cannot be enforced in China if China law to apply. What am I referring to? Simple. Okay? Look at Section 24 of the Contracts Act. What considerations and objects are lawful and what not? The consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless A, it is forbidden by law, B, is of such a nature that if permitted would defeat any law, C, it is fraudulent. Did this apply? E, the court, our courts, regards it as immoral or opposed to public policy. The consequences? It says here, in each of the above cases, the consideration or object of an agreement is said to be unlawful. Every agreement of which the object of consideration is unlawful is void. Okay? The examples, that's so important. Okay? So if a contract is unlawful, would defeat any law, is fraudulent or immoral or against public policy, it's void. Void ab initio. Latin word ab initio means void from the moment it is signed. Ab initio means from the very beginning. Okay? However, by Section 25, agreement void if consideration and objects unlawful in part, Section 25, meaning the contract has, say, 2 or 3 objectives. Okay? 2 are lawful. 1 is unlawful. Then the contract is void. If any part of a single consideration for 1 or more objects, or any one of the, or any part of or any one of several considerations for a single object is unlawful, the agreement is void. Understand? Okay. So there are 2 situations. The whole contract is void because of illegality, unlawfulness, or the contract may be lawful in part, but unlawful in other parts. The whole thing becomes void. Void ab initio. So now, when I say, therefore, when a contract is void ab initio, it cannot be enforced. No courts will lend its integrity, dignity to support an illegal, unlawful contract. Now, there are many cases on this point, many cases. But for summary, I will quote a federal court case, very famous, a very powerful quorum, led by the former CJ Lee Han Ho Bonio, George Seah and Saleh Abbas. This is a case of Datuk Ong Ki Hui Sinyam Anak Mutit. Alright, it's a case about a candidate standing for election and entered into agreement with the party SUPP that if elected, his parliamentary allowance will be donated to the party because the party sponsored him, spent money to get him elected. And if he were not to pay, right, or to transfer the allowance to the party, he has to resign as MP of Parliament and new elections to be held. So initially, this MP paid transfer his allowance to the party as agreed. Then subsequently, he did not continue with the transfer of the allowance to the party. The party gave notice of an undated resignation by the MP, right? Then dated by the party to the speaker, and his resignation was accepted. He then sued the party, okay, for what he donated, so-called, to the party, and had he remained MP, the balance of the allowances, okay. In summary, the arrangement, the court held, right, was illegal, unlawful. Therefore, all right, the candidate cannot claim what he has transferred or donated to the party, or the balance of those allowances had he remained as an MP. So the key parts, very quickly, I'll read to you. Okay. Whether such an arrangement, both parties agree, both the party and the candidate, okay, right? They are advisors, so they entered the contract willingly, as in Malaysia and China, okay. And the court said, okay, on the issue of legality. Now, the candidate, or for the matter, China says that the arrangement was illegal, but despite illegality, the respondent was entitled to all the claims he made, not only in respect of the sums that was transferred, but also damages. This case, like what China said, it may be illegal, but you have to pay me compensation as stipulated in the agreement. Okay. So what did the court say? On the facts of the case, right? Okay, it says an undertaking whereby a member is deprived of their remuneration is clearly against public policy, as it will be hard for him to function effectively as a member without financial worries. Any arrangement depriving him of this independence is frowned upon by the law as violating public policy. And a contract is deemed illegal, unlawful, and void as per Section 26 of the Contracts Act if it is deemed against public policy. Likewise, the contract between Malaysia and China, hey, hanky-panky, inflate the price to allow China using the inflated money to buy our assets. That must be against public policy, over and above the illegality. Okay? And then it goes on to say, what is the effect of that arrangement? You know, both are sovereign countries adults. Okay, there cannot be any misrepresentation. All right, the terms are very clear. Now, we would have advisors, right? I'm quite sure MOF and those companies would have advice from the then AG Apandi and AG Chambers, plus independent lawyers, all right, on the panel or whatever, in-house. Likewise, China. It says here, of course, as the arrangement between the respondent and the party is a matter of his remuneration, and remuneration is illegal, and the illegal is not only in regard to his performance, but in its very inception. Such arrangement is therefore void ab initio, and the parties are outside the pale of the law. Once the agreement is illegal, okay, it is void ab initio from the very beginning. Okay? So, this is very important part. The appellant is the party. The respondent is the candidate. Right? So, the candidate says, I can sue, even though it's illegal, because I suffered. I must be compensated. China is taking a stance. Okay, you say it's illegal. sham, criminality, hanky-panky. But I must be compensated, okay? So using the judgment, right, of the court, okay, he says here, if China says that, we can counter and says, no, it's illegal, unlawful. And this is what the court says. On the other hand, the appellant, the party, is entitled to rely upon illegality in his defense in order to meet the respondent's claim. The reason why the law allows the appellant to do so, explained by Lord Mansfield in Holman against Johnson, House Law's case, is due to the general principle of public policy contained in the maxim ex dolo malo non orito exio in Latin. In plain English, the court will not assist a person to pursue his claim if it arises ex turpis, and when the defendant is equally at fault, the court will apply the maxim potio est conditio defentis. Defendentis, okay. Meaning, hey, you are equally, all right, involved in illegality, right? Sorry, the court will not assist you to make a claim based on illegality, okay? Then, because this. Now, why China cannot claim compensation? That's what you call a doctrine called a maxim called voluntae non fit injuria or injuria, meaning if you commit something, a wrong has been committed, and you agree to the wrong, the conduct is illegal, you agree, that means you can't claim. Right? In the present case, the candidate respondent, there was no representation at the time, fraudulent or otherwise, was ever made by the appellant to the respondent and vice versa. The signing of the undertaking by the respondent was not the result of any inducement or any risk representation to him. He signed them willingly to return for the party's promise to nominate him as a candidate at the general election and to bear his election purposes. So, in our case, China and Malaysia agreed voluntarily, willingly. Hey, they are doubts, sovereign, willingly. So the court says, in explaining the maxim, voluntae non fit injuria, the court says, in any case, the respondent was a party to an illegal arrangement. The maxim voluntae non fit injuria also applies here in the same way as it does to the allegation of malicious or injurious falsehood. Okay? So the moment you accept your party to illegality, the maxim comes in. Voluntae non fit injuria. Okay? So, by this federal court case, may I suggest to Tun Mahathir, please Tun, please, give proper advice. I may be wrong, I stand to be corrected. But I've done my research. But I'm sure if your advisors, legal otherwise, because in contract, you have to know the laws, and contracts have been entered by public interest companies, GLCs, government, and each ministry has its own legal advisors, right? Outsiders, which you outsource, right? So you can't say, lawyers don't know. Contract law is very simple, all right? Every lawyer worth of salt will know the relevant sections of the Contracts Act. But I will ask you, Tun Mahathir, my dear Prime Minister, why do you moan and groan? Adoy, susah, nak bayar China 55 billion or whatever. And they say, if you have 55 billion, you do the job lah. Don't be so clever and talk to enforce the agreement. Susah. And then UMNO and PAS says, right, if the contract is not implemented, The Malays will suffer in Kelantan, Terengganu, and Pahang. And they are Muslims. Sinful contract. Unlawful. Tak apa. Do it. We get the money in the pocket, we survive. We don't care about Allah or the Quran. Tak apa. Money first. Cash is key. And yet, the answer is so simple. You don't have to have a PhD. According to those who have PhD, phony donkeys. Or MBAs, master bullshit artists. BSc in economics or management, bloody screw-ups. Don't have all those things, the titles behind your name. Or the fact that you are an advisor to the UN, World Bank, IMF, blah, 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 blah. Hey, there's intellectual masturbation, wanking at the highest level. We're now down to brass tacks, no holds barred, simple contract. Have there been crime committed? Is there corruption? Money laundering? Kalau ada, habis cerita lah. There's AMLA, Anti-Money Laundering Act, dan lain-lain. No need go to emergency law. Use our criminal laws. And tell China. Do you tell China the crimes were committed? By both sides? Because you say, I'm sure you didn't say that because you told the whole world in your discussion with the Chinese leaders, you didn't blame them. You only blame Najib Razak. Correct me, you blame Najib Razak. You're a stupid asshole. You do such contracts. You wanted to sell the whole country to China. Hey, you think China's a virgin? So innocent? The hand was in the pot, in the shit, to take the money. They also drank the poison from the same chalice. Both are guilty, yeah? Sinners. So China cannot claim virgin or angel. Okay. If we want to follow Trump's strategy as he's explained brilliantly in his book Art of the Deal, they must follow correctly the analogy. Here is different. The distinct factor is illegality. Illegality, for heaven's sake. Okay? Void ab initio. So can you see now how dangerous it is? But we have the answer. So therefore I beg you, literally, Mr. Prime Minister and Pakatan Harapan, I'm not so proud not to beg. Because my country comes first. I have no ego. I'm not a politician. I'm not a minister. I'm not an MB or an adult. I'm a taxpayer, a bit small amount. But I think I'm entitled, since you all don't want to listen, I will go to the level of, I beg you, Sir, Prime Minister, Sir, Law Minister, Sir, Attorney General, can you please wake up your slumber, work your ass out, don't give excuses. You're virgin newbies in the ministry, inexperienced, there's so much shit, and therefore don't expect us to do so much within 100 days. We didn't expect anything. You promised that you can do so much in 100 days. If you can't, let's be humble and start from the first step. Apologize to the whole country for your misrepresentation, misleading statements. Because you said recently, the leaders of Pakatan, we never expect to win. And the stupid booklet, the manifesto, was just empty promises. And then when we win, alamak susah adoy. So, you make a mistake. First thing you do, you remedy and say, I apologize. Give us a chance. Okay. It gives more time. And then, don't you dare ask for honeymoon. You want your guts out, your butt out, 24/7. No holiday. Because you already got MPs, you know. You're already MPs, you got allowance, you know. For your stupid mistakes, right, you better forgo your entire salary. And then work hard. Now, Tun Dan said, mandate CEP, habis. We have unraveled a lot of shit. He almost had a heart attack, figuratively speaking, when he saw the shit being exposed to him by people in government. And he hoped that his report will be published to the public. But Tun, why do you say you won't do it? Please lah. You whack Najib for lack of transparency, accountability. Najib classified all this report official secrets. And so many things official secrets. And you condemn, alright? There should not be official secrets if there's crime exposed. Let the public know about it. So if CEP members has unraveled criminality within the government, don't say it's up to me. I set up CEP. The answer to me, I will decide. No, sir. The premise of CEP is from the word go, while the ministers are being appointed, virgin ministers, to keep the government running. That was the premise we agreed, right? Sir, on the setting up of CEP, which is by another name, what was agreed to be done. To get going, while the government is in the process of reforming. We cannot leave any lacuna, any loopholes, any emptiness. Go, go, go! And they have gone. And they want to show the dirt. He said no. Now, before I conclude, Najib has embargoed to today, now you're in power, all the documents on MDB. The contracts, the agreements. Reveal them, please. What's the Official Secrets Act? The case really going on in America, all the shit. Things are going on a snail pace. Okay? I give you so many analysis on 1MDB crimes and to other people. Now, all the contract between our GLCs and China. If you are so sure there's criminality, blah, 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 put all those agreements on your Prime Minister's website, on the Finance Minister's website. Let the dirt be revealed in the starkest naked terms, so that people can rally behind you and support you. Please, don't ask us, but we must surrender our faith absolutely to you. We only do that to Allah, God Almighty. You owe a duty, responsibility, obligation by your manifesto, by your promises, right? No stones will live unturned. They have to be exposed. So, all the contracts revealed it. Express contracts, supplementary contracts, secret contracts, all exposed on your website. Rally the country behind you so that we can stand together and tell China, China, alright, which you impliedly said we cannot allow a new form of colonialism. Although you say it's China, it's a general statement, fine. But the nexus, the substantive right, argument is that, right? They are doing that, isn't it? Not in name, but in substance. Lending us exorbitant money at high interest rates and huge compensation. Now, you didn't say there's no exit clause. My dear sir, even if there's no exit clause in the agreement, which is not likely, only a fool, a lawyer will do that. And I don't think all the members of the AG chambers are all fools or idiots, or the lawyers within the ministry are idiots, all the external lawyers are idiots. Even there's no exit clause, I give you the answer. Illegality, unlawfulness, void, void, void ad initio. That is the exit clause. Okay? Are you satisfied now, Mr. Prime Minister? Are you satisfied now, Mr. Law Minister? Are you satisfied now, Finance Minister? Are you satisfied, AG Chambers? I don't think I can blame AG Chambers. They were definitely not consulted before he went to China or after he took power when he saw all this shit. Right? I was told that some lawyers, even the CEP, but I suppose they are attached to somebody else. Reformasi, blah blah blah. Institutional reformacy. Nothing to do with brick and mortars. It's a freaking organizational culture. How you hold yourself. That is the essence of reform, transformation. You transform your freaking dirty mind. You cleanse your mind, you spring clean. All the institutions in our country is the leftover from Mother England. Survived. But when it's corrupt, went off the tangent because we appoint wrong people to hold the responsibility. And exposed to money, they were corrupt. Because they don't have an anchor, a spiritual anchor, a spiritual GPS to guide them in their action. That's why I said in my previous video, I'm so sad. That arrogance that you don't need a spiritual GPS to guide your action was reflected after the election. None of you leaders won. Has the humility and the audacity to thank Allah as a total entity, Pakatan Harapan, nationwide. But you give press conference with all these, right? Guys next to you, left and right, standing press conference, right? But the most important press conference is, have you thanked Allah? Have you invoked the GPS of the teachers of Allah to guide your actions? When you don't have that spiritual guidance, GPS, you can't have reform. No way. You don't have to be religious or fanatic. Stick to the fundamental principles. That's all. And I hope this video will inspire all you Malaysians to say, nothing's complicated. Huh? See, I just explained to you. We solve the problem. That problem overnight, solve it. I challenge anyone to debate with me. Ministers, prime ministers, finance minister, AG, but anyone. Give me those contracts and see. Put it in public. Let people can see it. Let other lawyers, with thousands of lawyers, could help you. Volunteer, national service. Don't need gaji lah, ayo. Understand? They're all humble people. They don't strut like a peacock. Why be this? Why be that? Nah. Do your freaking work. And with that, once again, I will ask all of us, citizens of this country, surrender to the will of Allah completely, unconditionally. And have faith that He will protect, defend, and guide us under all circumstances in the face of evil, Satan, enemies, adversity, and challenges. And as I was proven right yesterday and many times before, justice will prevail, truth will prevail, and we will score victory in the name of Allah. With that, I thank you for your attention, and I bid you a good day.